This is the third part of a tutorial on displaying 3D models in web pages using the X3D format. In this part I'll show you how to display models that have textures. There are three things you must take into account when using a texture file. The web page and the texture file must be uploaded to a server. You can't view the web page locally and see the texture. The other 2 points are to do with bugs, which will hopefully be eradicated in the future. With version 2.58 of Blender, there was a rewrite of the exporter script and it had a few problems which I think have been removed in version 2.59. The third and trickiest problem is dimensions of the texture file must be a power of 2. If we go to the X3DOM site, and the post for the release of version 1.2, it says fixed display problem with textures which have dimensions not the power of 2. The post says the problem is fixed, but in practice I found that it's not yet fixed. To overcome the power of 2 problem, you have to resize the texture file's canvas. To do that you need image manipulation software. I'm going to use GIMP because it's free. You can use whichever package you like. I'm going to open the texture file. I'm going to zoom out a bit. In the view menu, zoom 25%. In the image menu I'm going to go to canvas size. I'm going to unlink the chain, constraining width to height. I'm going to increase the width to 2048, which is a power of 2, and increase the height to the same, 2048. I'm going to click resize, and what that has done is padded out with transparent pixels so that the width is now 2048. I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to rename the file character 218 resize and save. Now as you go to save that, because of the transparent pixels it's added, it wants you to export it. Just click save and those transparent pixels will be turned to white pixels. Here is a Blender file from a tutorial where I showed how to UV map a texture file to a cube. Now how do we replace the texture file with the resized texture file? First thing I'm going to do is File, Save As, and call this NES2. Then I'm going to hover over the white diagonal lines here and drag out a new window and make this window a UV image editor. If I go into edit mode and I bring up the old texture file and zoom out, you can see that it is correctly UV mapped to the old texture file. But when I go to the image menu and open the resized image texture file, then the mapping is no longer correct, unfortunately, and I have to start the process of UV mapping the cube to the texture file. I've skipped ahead now and I've just got to line up one more edge with the texture file. G to grab X for X direction and move that there. If you want to see how to UV map to a texture file, see my tutorial on that. In the texture properties, make sure that the image file, the texture file, is the new resized version, and then we can export file, export the X3D file. Next you have to upload the X3D file to your server. There's the X3D file. If I have a look at the X3D file that I've just uploaded, we'll see that there is a tag for image texture, and it's looking for a file whose name is character 218 resize JPEG. So that must be in the same folder if this is going to work, so I have to go back to my file manager and upload that file. The texture file is uploaded now. The only thing I have to do now is edit the inline file, the web page with the inline tag. I go into code editor. This needs to point at nes2.x3d to load that in. So save changes. And so finally we can see if it's all worked. If I type in the web address, which will take us to that file, the file with the inline tag, nes.html, press enter, and there we get our NES entertainment system. I'll put all the files created and used in this tutorial at my website freemovies.co.uk at the Blender channel there. I'll also put links to relevant sites. Thanks for watching and goodbye.